Welcome to chapter number 1 on operations and productivity. In this chapter, we will learn what are operations, what is productivity, and how operations and productivity go hand in hand when we talk about operations management. So first about operations, then about productivity, and then about operations and productivity. A major goal of operations management is to improve the productivity. Let us first look at what is an operation. So this is chapter number 1, that is operations and productivity from our textbook by Hazer. So first let us look at what are the various topics. The topics that we'll cover in this chapter are what is an operation. Then we'll look at what are the various operations that happen in a courier service with which all of you are familiar. This is not given in your textbook, but I have decided to include this in the beginning of the course itself so that we are on a very sound footing. So we will call it as not in the textbook. So at various places in this course, we will have a logo which will say not in the textbook. Then again, another one, not in the textbook. I am going to take one example from Population Census of India. In the last population census, which was held in 2011, we will look at what are the various operations, what were the various resources, and how it was organized. Then I give you a formal definition of operations management. Operations management are used both in the industries which are producing goods or which are involved in providing the services. So in the next video, we will look at what are goods, what are services, what are the various characteristics of goods and services. Then we move to the another video, that is defining what is productivity. How do we measure productivity and what are the various different measures of productivity. And in the last video in this chapter, we will look at productivity numerical, which is from the textbook. So let us first start with what is an operation. So what are operations? So let us look at this diagram. In this diagram, there is inputs. These are being transformed into outputs. So different activities are done to convert inputs into outputs. So before we look at what organizations do, we will see that this transformation is fairly universal. Transformations are done by fan, it is done by windmill, it is also done by oven, and with computer, microprocessor, printed circuit board, they have inputs and they have outputs. So between this input and output, some activities are happening. Similarly for an engine, input and output, and or a turbine, there is input and output. And in biological system also, whether it is a tree, bacteria or an animal, there are inputs and some transformation, biological and chemical transformations are happening, which creates different kind of outputs. Transformation is also a term which is used in mathematics. So here we have got a very simple equation which you must have learnt when you were in school. Y is equal to 3 plus 7x. So x is a input. If you give some value, let us say 2, then we get a output which is 15. So we have input and output. And similarly, when you deal with matrices, then also you have transformation of a matrix X by another matrix A, and which gives another matrix Y. So transformation is fairly universal, whether it is physical or it is biological or it is biochemical or it is mathematical. The transformations are happening. We are more interested in this course in what are the transformations in the organizations, which we'll look at in the next slide. Same diagram which appears input, transformation and outputs. So when we talk about organizations, in the organization, the activities which are done to convert input into outputs. So inputs, one major input could be material. And apart from that, material is to be transformed. So we have orders or forecast. Based on orders or based on forecast, we transform the material into various different kind of goods. And here we do the activities. Here we do the activities or the operations, and that results into output. To do the activities, we require resources. The resources could be machines, it could be manpower. And apart from that, we also require the method by which we have to convert input into output. So with same materials, same machines and same manpower, there could be different methods which one can use to transform the inputs into outputs. Let us look at outputs. So outputs can be classified into two categories. One is called goods, which means which have got physical existence, or services which do not have physical existence, something which we'll see in video number 5. Video number 5 or 4. So let us look at the outputs. So what could be the various outputs? Output could be physical goods like cars, laptops, shoes. So we have got a material, we have methods, we have machine, we have manpower, and we convert those into cars, laptops and shoes. Let us look at a set of different services: banking, insurance, transport, courier. Another set of services which could be education, software, services. Then we also have, these are also the outputs: making a movie, organizing a concert, or organizing a Olympics event. Similarly, construction in civil engineering, that is also a output. And in agriculture, our output could be wheat, apples, cotton, silk, or the livestock. And let us look at some of the services in which generally you will find government getting involved in a very big way. These could be elections, census, polio drops, surgical strike, rescue operations, garbage collection. So we have very large variety of outputs that are being produced, mainly from fewer inputs. Let us also look at not only the physical part, but also the financial part of this. We have shown by red and by green. When you buy inputs, okay, you are losing the money, and when you hire or acquire the resources, then also we are spending the money. It is the output which brings the money to the organization. So therefore, this is a very important thing. Okay, most engineers generally they look at the upper part, but in management you also have to consider the lower part. Inputs can be converted into outputs in very large number of ways. So our aim is going to be how we can do these activities or operations so that we are able to get more and more outputs, or we are using less of material or less of resources. Upper part is technical part, and lower part, when technical is married to the finance, then this becomes a managerial part. So in operations management, what is our focus? So while converting inputs, transformation into outputs, in transformations we have activities and or operations. That is what is done to convert input into outputs. This is not in the textbook, so I thought I will share with you. So there are 4 things on which we need to focus in operations management. One is the activities. Activities is something that are happening here. Second thing is activities require resources. So resources are required here. So activities and resources. And third is how we are going to manage this, which means the method of converting input into outputs. And fourth one is the performance. When we operate a system, we also have to look at what is the performance, and we may also have to set the standards so that we can know whether we are operating efficiently or not. So in operations management, if you focus on those 4 things, more or less, I think we will be covering most of the operations management. Thank you, and then we'll meet in the next video on courier service.